Yeah, man. Shoot.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BRICS Business Gala Dinner, brought to you by the Progressive Business Forum. And I'm really honored to be your host this evening. My name is Weza Matomane. You can call me Weza That Guy. But you have to use the voice. You'll be like, yeah, that was a great MC, ne? Weza That Guy. So I'm a bit of a voiceover artist, and so here and there, I'll just call you with my expensive voice. So this is my cheap voice, ne? Here and there, I will start speaking like this. So that's my expensive voice, but they didn't pay me enough enough to speak like that the whole time. So I'll just keep it just here. But I'm also, of course, not alone. I'm with this absolutely dazzling lady right here. She is a former scientist and an MBA graduate and the CEO of Viraco Global, as well as Global Nkwe Investments. Please, a big round of applause for the dashing Coretta.
Thank you very much, Weza, for that colorful introduction. Thank you so much.
It's all good. It's all good. Now, today is going to be quite exciting. There's so much to look forward to. And we've have the privilege to welcome so many distinguished guests that are right here with us. In fact, let us just acknowledge them as they appear. So first up, we'd like to acknowledge the Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Paul Mashatile. Also in our midst, we would like to acknowledge the former president of Nigeria, Mr. Obasanjo, as well as Ambassador. Oh, this time there's so many. Oh, yes, there he is, Mr. Obasanjo. Thank you so much. So the rest, guys, is going to be so many that I'm just going to go through them, and then we give them a big round of applause at the end, please. But all of them, are, of course, are dignitaries, and all of them are very important. But here they are, the Ambassador Bridget Mutsipe, as well as Charlatan Masters. And we also have the Honorable Minister Naledi Pando, Minister Tembi Nkadimeng. We also have Minister Enoch Gondogwana, Minister Lydia Chikunga, Minister Mondli Gungubele, Minister Mamaloko Kubai. We also have Minister Kwede Mantashe, Minister Kumbuzo Nchabeeni. So it's a lot, but please, let's give them all a big round of applause.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. You're all looking stunning. You're all looking beautiful. Yeah. I'd like you to give a round of applause to yourselves.
Yeah, that's also important.
And what a beautiful voice, eh? What a wonderful, magnificent voice.
You mean the free one or the expensive one? Which one?
Wow. That just melts you, right? Ladies and gentlemen, we also want to acknowledge in attendance all the deputy ministers and all the members of the National Executive Committee of the ANC, including the National Secretary General of the ANC, Mr. Fikile Mbalula, and the first Deputy Secretary General, Ms. Nomvula Mokonyane. And last but not least, yes, please. Okay. Thank you. And last but not least, I don't know if you all know, but our host this evening is the Treasurer General of the African National Congress, Dr. Gwen Ramokgopa.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
I hear people saying, Kimamureki.
Kimamureki.
Well, yes, we definitely do have a house full of dignitaries, a powerhouse, really, if I could call it that. It's really exciting, isn't it, Coretta?
Oh, wonderful. I agree. I know very much, Weza. This is a very special event, as you know, that we're celebrating the opening of the BRICS Summit, the third that has been held in South Africa. This is the 15th BRICS Summit ever held. We would also like to welcome our sponsors, Macau Mining, Numalux, Baldwin Properties, Whiphold, and we thank them for supporting us for this auspicious event.
Yeah, let's give it a round of applause. We can't do it without the support of those sponsors, so thank you so much. Now, before we go on any further with the program, we'd like you to have a quick look at the amazing video that's going to showcase South Africa by Brand South Africa. Have a look at the screens.
This is who we are. More than 60 million different voices echoing in harmony from the southernmost part of the continent, where ordinary people have carved their names in an extraordinary history by showing the world that peace is always better than war. Our reach is not limited by our borders, bringing joy in people's hearts and a spark of rhythm to their moves. This is the welcome home of opportunity.
ladies and gentlemen, we apologize that we couldn't get to play the entire video. There seemed to be just a tiny technical glitch. I'm sure the technical team will sort that out, and a little bit later we'll probably get to look at that video. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, this evening there's so much in store for us. Now, before we introduce our next speaker, please be aware of just a couple of things. There is a QR code on your table right now. If you just look carefully, it should be there somewhere. That is a QR code of the entire program of today. So if you scan that, you should be able to see the entire program. But you also have a second QR code somewhere in there as well. And this one right here is for you to click through if you want to register. And of course, just check out the PBF and register with them as well. Now it's time for you to sit back and enjoy the program. And this is how we kick things off in introducing our first speaker. She was the first female mayor of the city of Tshwane, MEC of Health in Gauteng, and Deputy Minister of Health. She is a medical doctor by profession, and her dedication to both her medical career as well as public service has made her an influential and respected figure in our communities. She is the first woman to be elected as the Treasurer General of the African National Congress in its 111 years of existence. So it is so fitting that on Women's Month, we welcome on stage this absolutely trailblazing woman right here indeed. In fact, there's one more thing I read quite recently in the Mail and Guardian, that she is called the Fixer.
I'm sure you know, and I'm sure most of you have seen that article. Was it not a great article? Would you agree with me?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you remember the article?
So there she's titled The Fixer. Yeah. So ladies and gentlemen, without further delay, let's welcome
the Treasurer General of the African National Congress, ladies and gentlemen, as she comes up on stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, program directors. Wow, the BRICS Summit is here at last. I think let's give all of us a round of applause that we've made it. Against all odds. His Excellency, Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, Excellency Paul Mashatile and Madam Mashatile, former President of Nigeria, His Excellency Chief Obasanjo and your delegation, Honorable Minister Naledi Pandor, the Minister of International Relations, other ministers here, honorable ministers, honorable deputy ministers of the South African government. I also recognize our one and only Premier of Gauteng, who is here with us. I'm aware that the Premier of Mpumalanga and other premiers may also be here. I want to acknowledge you because there is no national without sub-regional and local government. We welcome you, Comrade Premier. The Deputy President of the Pan-African Parliament, Honorable Dr. Ashebiri Gayo, thank you for honoring us. The chairperson of the African National Congress, who's also Minister of Minerals and Energy, Honorable Gwede Mantashe, the First Secretary of the Secretary General of the ANC, Comrade Figile Mbalula, the First Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, Me Nomvula Mokonyane, other NEC members and other political parties that are here. I must recognize political parties because preceding the government summit, there was a political party dialogue here hosted by the ANC and other political parties in South Africa, which also welcomed more than 40 countries that came to also give a mandate and support to this government program that is starting tomorrow. Captains of industry, this is your show because this is about trade. It's about also building friendship. Other leaders of society from the knowledge institutions, you've been hard at work also preparing for this summit through various think tanks, other sectors that have also been busy preparing for this summit under the leadership of the BRICS Council. And I want to also recognize the Deputy Chair of the BRICS Council, Mr. Stavros Nicolaou, who will also share with us a few words. Sponsors of this August event, organizers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and not to forget our good friends, the media. If you're not here, who will know about us and the work that the many dignitaries here do. Thank you for being here. The age-old adage that says nothing can stand in the way of an idea whose time has come probably comes to mind today as we stand at the beginning of what could be a telling moment in the global power and economics dynamics of our times. This 15th BRICS Summit is significant in many ways. It is the first one to be held since the ravaging COVID-19 pandemic. I was sharing with women in the last 2 days that after the Spanish flu, the world was never the same again. The pandemic that happened about a century ago. That's when the women, especially in the United States, got their right to vote for the first time. And many other things followed, including the UN and many other global phenomena happened. To comfort us, to encourage us, after the COVID-19 pandemic, we certainly needed an event such as the BRICS, plus Africa, plus and plus and plus. This summit comes at a time when there has been a lot of tension in global politics, which at some point cast doubts on whether it will be held, it will be successful. It comes also at a time when the IMF predicts that the BRICS bloc will constitute more of the world economy in 2023, with BRICS sitting at $56 trillion compared to the G7 countries who are sitting at $52 trillion. And this figure could grow in favor of BRICS if the 40+ countries who have applied to join BRICS bloc are granted entry. Ladies and gentlemen, what is more important is that BRICS and the countries that would want to be part of this unfolding global phenomenon of our times are members of the United Nations. That the BRICS countries advance, it shouldn't be viewed as being at the disadvantage of any other nation. It is time that the countries that were left behind also pull up their socks and also advance. It is time that the countries that have been left behind in poverty, in underdevelopment, in huge unemployment like in our country, are now able to see a better future for themselves and be shoulder to shoulder with those that are ahead of them. International media analysts and economists have speculated on many issues and implications, including the fact that should this summit decide on the currency change for BRICS countries, how that would affect the global trading system. BRICS, 5 countries now contribute 31.5% of global GDP, while the G7 share is at around 30%. The BRICS is expected to contribute over 50% of global GDP by 2030, with a proposed enlargement, of course. Our President Cyril Ramaphosa, has encouraged us to look at the BRICS summit and its engagements and outcomes on a more positive note as our contribution to indeed a better world, a better region of Africa, and indeed for us in South Africa, a better country. Indeed, it is time that we put our heads together and look how we can resolve the structural economic problems that face us, and we unlock the economic potential that is there, and the endowment, be able to unlock the endowments for the benefit of our children and also for generations to come and for sustainable development. I'm not here to give the main message to this August audience. The main message would be given by Deputy President. I just wanted to say I'm excited leading on the side of the Progressive Business Forum, a forum that has been established to engage with businesses that are positive and that want to ensure that they don't only grow together, but they grow with others and that they interact amongst themselves so that we can see the opportunities together and grow together. The Progressive Business Forum is being repositioned to be a catalyst for, amongst others, multilateral programs that enhances trade, that enhances friendship, both in terms of economic growth, but also in terms of ideas that can take our country, our region, and our world forward. We held a BRICS colloquium just before the BRICS political party dialogue, and we were really excited that the president of our country honored that meeting, but the debates were really robust and very encouraging. Some of the things that stood out for me, firstly, was one young man, I think he is here, who invented an app to deliver goods in rural areas, a market that very few entrepreneurs dream of playing in. He has headquarters based in rural Hammanskraal, and he impressed me when he said that just because they come from rural areas does not mean that they deserve lesser technologies. So the artificial intelligence era, the ICT era, the digital economy can really close the distance between the advancement of those in urban and those in rural areas. Another speaker at the colloquium held last month, his name is Pet Mahlangu, reinforced the idea that as South Africa, we do not need to go into BRICS as beggars. An idea that also our president shared on behalf of the developing nations recently in Paris. Nor do we have to go in with nothing to offer. He said, I quote, "We are going into BRICS for trade, for mutual benefit. South Africa and Africa by extension has more than a lot to offer the world," I close quote. That the young people participated and they have a positive view of the future deserves our support. I want to take this opportunity, therefore, to thank all of you who have been with us in this journey of preparing for what would be from tomorrow, the BRICS Summit held here in South Africa, which South Africa will chair in the next year. I want to encourage you to network, encourage you to look at opportunities, encourage you as you rise, lift others. If we rise together, our countries can all advance. Africa has a lot to offer, and indeed, we can build a better world that is more just and that can achieve the UN development goals as targeted by 2030. With those few words, please relax, enjoy the evening. We are celebrating the journey that we have taken to date, but we are also rejuvenating ourselves to take the next step and the next leap into the future that looks so bright. I thank you.
Thank you so much to Dr. Gwen Ramokgopa for that fantastic opening and really just setting the tone. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to welcome a number of people that we had missed out, and now, of course, we do indeed know that they are here. So let's please put our hands together for the Premier of Gauteng, Mr. Phanyazali Sufi, and his MECs, Mbali Thope, as well as Faith Mazibuko. We acknowledge and welcome you. Thank you so much. Mr. Nasispar, Dango. Now the beauty is that actually just a couple of weeks ago, actually, I had the privilege myself of actually emceeing at what Dr. Gwen Ramokgopa just recently talked about, the BRICS colloquium, and of course that was something that was attended as a keynote address by our President Cyril Ramaphosa. You know, right there is where I got to see Dr. Gwen Ramokgopa at work, and we really just got to see her in action, and her tireless dedication and her indefatigable commitment to really securing the financial future of the ANC really is something that I'm sure they are very, very fortunate to have people such as her. So let's give her a big round of applause one more time. So, ladies and gentlemen, a little bit earlier, I had promised a video from the brand South Africa that was going to play and really just give us a sense of how proud we are of this beautiful land of ours. So please turn your attention now to the screens and let's enjoy that video.
This is who we are. More than 60 million different voices echoing in harmony from the southernmost part of the continent, where ordinary people have carved their names in an extraordinary history by showing the world that peace is always better than war. Our reach is not limited by our borders, bringing joy in people's hearts and a spark of rhythm to their moves. This is the welcome home of opportunity, inspiring millions to look here in search of a better life, and sharing our best with the world. We are home to undulating mountains, flowers, endless seas, the beautiful animal kingdom, and the ever-changing seasons that color our world. We are the birthplace of humanity and a showcase of human excellence. We believe in South Africa. We are inspired by our victories of the past and our strong institutions to overcome the challenges of today and build a better tomorrow. This is who we are, South African. South Africa, inspiring new ways.
This is a message by BRICS South Africa.
Ladies and gentlemen, how are you feeling so far? I'm not hearing some noise. Can I hear some yay? Do we have, let me try this. Do we have any Brazilians in the house? Do we have any Brazilians? Oh, yes. Any Russian? Any Chinese? Oh, Russian, yes. Look at that. Any Chinese in the house? Ah, welcome. Yes, yes. And South Africa. Woohoo! And India. Where's India? It's here. Wow, thank you, welcome. I'm going to welcome our next speaker on stage, who is the BRICS Council, Business Council chairperson, Dr. Stavros Nicolaou. Is he here? Dr. Stavros, please come on stage. Can you please welcome him? Thank you.
How much time? Program Director, Excellencies, Deputy President, the Honourable Ministers and Deputy Ministers, the DSG, Mama Action, I think I see you there, senior officials, business people, friends and colleagues from the BRIC countries. It's a great pleasure to be here with you and to share a few thoughts. I think when the program director asked if there were any Brazilians in the house, the Pirates and Chief supporters got very upset. And I suspect that is why we didn't get much of a response. So I'm not doing one of these, right? Colleagues, on a more serious note, I'm here to deliver a brief message on behalf of the BRICS Business Council. This is a council of 25 members, all nominated by the business formations of their respective countries, 5 from South Africa, 5 from Brazil, and so on and so forth. The council is 10 years old today, so we celebrated a decade. And in that decade, I think we have dovetailed with our respective governments and entrenched the position of business within the BRICS formation. 10 years ago, I suspect many people thought that the concept of a BRICS Business Council, which incidentally was advanced by South Africa in Durban in 2013, and our inaugural chairperson was another Brazilian, Mr. Patrice Motsepe. Okay. So I told you, DSG, we're truly multicultural. So 10 years ago, I think most people thought the council was an idea. It wouldn't really, probably fizzle out. And I'm pleased to tell you that in the 10 years, this is what we can reflect on. Firstly, the contribution of BRICS to global GDP in purchase power parity terms is now 32% of global GDP. If you want to place that in some context, the G7, which has always been held as one of the leading formations, contributes 30% to global GDP. So BRICS has narrowly eclipsed the G7. That's quite an accomplishment. And I might also add that our trade as South Africa with BRICS has also grown. So if we compare the period 2017 to 2021, that 4-year consolidated period, and remember 18 months of those 4 years were affected and afflicted by COVID. But in that 4-year period, we demonstrated a 44% growth in trade. So if there are any people that are wondering, so you can give a round of applause for that. So if anybody is wondering whether it makes sense to be part of BRICS, well, I think wonder again. Because it is a sizable chunk of global GDP, and certainly our trade has grown. But we also analyze the numbers, and we assess the situation, and what is manifest to us is, of course, we are running trade deficits and some uneven trading patterns with our BRIC partners. Now, that's not a problem per se, because these are much bigger economies than ours, so you would naturally expect a deficit. So these deficits we see as a council being an opportunity. It's an opportunity because it allows us, and this is really important for this audience tonight, it allows us to have a look at what are those products, goods, services, and/or sectors of the economy that we can potentially start to export out of our country to the BRIC nations. So this will be a priority for the next, certainly for the next 5 years, is to identify where do these opportunities reside for small, medium, and large business. Now, the other thing that is overt is that we tend to export a lot of raw materials, but then we import finished products. And again, we will always be an exporter of minerals and commodities because we are rich in minerals and commodities. All we need to try and do is balance out some of these uneven trade patterns through partnerships, through complementarity, by producing these products in our country. Now, let me give you an example of what I mean. Because we're speaking so much about Brazilians this evening, what fascinated me with this exercise that we did is that South Africa's second biggest export to Brazil is centrifuge machines. Okay, now TG is a medical person. I didn't even know we produced and exported centrifuges, let alone it being the second biggest export to Brazil. So these are the, if we're competitive to sell these centrifuges to Brazil, there must be a market somewhere else. And we've got to look at the complementarity. Now, what do I mean by complementarity? I mean, we've got to look at where do South Africa's strengths lie, where do Brazil's strengths lie, etc. And we've got to balance out the trade on that basis. So if we can do it in Brazil with centrifuges, no reason why we can't do it in Russia and in India and in China as well. So those are the opportunities I want to open your eyes to this evening, because I'm sure that 90% of you in this room are business people. And I even see a Serbian businessman here at the back there, right? Okay, so why do I raise that? I raise that for another key priority, which I'm going to finish off on. Okay. The theme for this year's BRICS Business Summit is BRICS and Africa. And it's a long slogan, but I'm just going to cover the important elements of it. It speaks to enhancing economic collaboration, sustainable development, and inclusive multilateralism. So it's not by accident that this is the theme, because we are chairing BRICS this year, and we get to chair it every 5 years, so we need to maximize and optimize when we chair. So in the context of that, South Africa remains the fulcrum between, on the one hand, the African continent, and in particular the African Continental Free Trade Area. And what is the free trade area in my mind? It's aggregating the African markets. Instead of having 54 deaggregated, insularized markets, we look to coordinate the volumes, the scale of these 54 markets, which add up to an economy of almost $4 trillion. An economy, by the way, that will grow by 2050 to $16 trillion. Now you're starting to get size, scale, and mass. And the most important thing here is that Africa presents the next frontier of opportunity. And I know the DP spoke about this recently as well, because he spoke about localization. Localization, industrialization, enhanced added value manufacturing are all the ingredients that lead to stable economies. And that is what we are trying to achieve here. So remember, South Africa remains the fulcrum, the gateway between the African continent, the free trade area on the one hand, and on the other hand, the BRIC markets, which represent over 30% of global GDP. And we are the conduit, the facilitator as South Africa. So you add those two markets together, and we're not talking the Minister of International Cooperation, Durka Minister, Minister Naledi Pandor will tell you, we're not doing these things for the here and now. We are doing a lot of this for the future, for the young people in this room. DP, you and I, we've had our time. We're ready to retire soon. We are doing, or maybe the DP is more energetic than I am, but I think. But we are doing this for the future. So do you know that there are 2 countries that have got a population in excess of 1 billion people at the moment? The most populous country is India. Second most populous is China. There will only be one other country that by the turn of the century exceeds 1 billion inhabitants, and that is Nigeria. And that is in the African continent. So if you think we're kind of doing these things for the today and the here and now, that's not the case. Africa represents the next frontier of growth. And incidentally, I said to you about a $16 trillion economy by 2050. Africa's population, which is 1.35 billion inhabitants now, will almost double by 2050. Now, why am I giving you all these statistics? Because you're all business people, and I know you're working out all the sums and calculations already in your heads. But I'm also giving it to you for another reason. Africa has the youngest population, and it's a population that is tech savvy. And we seek partnerships with our BRIC partners. Partnerships around technology, know-how, skills, so that we can industrialize and digitalize to give full expression to that potential that resides in Africa. But the bottom line here is that BRICS and the African Union working together represent a significant market access opportunity for any business futuristically in our country. I've overstayed my welcome, but I thought I should just share a couple of these things with you as you make your own calculations and assessments as business people. And we've never said we're going to compromise existing trading partners. What we're saying is we are going to look at this, what represents South Africa, South African businesses' best interests. And that's the way we are looking at it. So we don't have favoritism here, or we're saying we're discarding or leaving out this one, or favoring that one. We are looking at, as any other country does in the world, where do the best opportunities for business lie, and where do the best economic collaborations lie? And certainly BRIC is a very attractive proposition. So let me end off by again thanking you for this invitation. I see that the stage has been heavily dominated by women, and Sis Bridget Khadebe is sitting in front there somewhere, I think. She used to be on the council with me, but we are also the only chapter in the council that has 40% women. The other 4 chapters have 0%. So, DSG, let me end off by saying Malibongwe and Igamala Kozikazi.
Okay, it's fine, it's fine. Hey, Hey, great Zulu there. One of the other things that he really said that really gives us hope is that, first of all, Africa is the largest young population and, of course, also a tech-savvy population as well. So it means that there's certainly so much opportunity for digitization as well as industrialization within Africa. And this is where the next big things are going to be happening from. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. Thank you so much.
Africa is the next big frontier,
Definitely.
as he said. 16 trillion economy is not a child's play.
Yeah.
As the Treasurer General has said, that we are not beggars. We have it. We've got the resources. We've got everything to perform as an economy that is powerful and strong. This is the time for Africa. Would you agree?
Yeah,
It's a time for Africa.
definitely. So, Coretta, what's up next?
Well, as you may know that at this moment, as we are having this event now, it's August, right? And August is Women's Month in South Africa. Did you all know that?
Yeah.
Yeah? Bumbogoto, they are all here, all the beautiful women. I mean, this is inspiring for me to see so many number of beautiful women who are here in the house. Do you want to give yourselves a round of applause? All the women who are in the forefront of government and business leading us in South Africa. So our next speaker is a true trailblazer who embodies the essence of Women's Month and the spirit of female empowerment with her remarkable achievement in both government and business. She serves as a shining example of progress for women who have made a contribution in this country. May we welcome Minister Naledi Pandor.
Thank you very much to the program directors, and thank you for the kind introduction. I must just say I've never been in business. Maybe that's my next life. I had thought that I would begin by saying that I would wish, in terms of protocol, to associate myself with a list of protocol that was so elaborately set out by the Treasurer General of the African National Congress. However, when I checked with our Deputy Minister, he told me that it's sudden death to ignore protocol as a Minister of International Relations. And thus I begin. Your Excellency, Deputy President Mashatile, Excellency Premier Lesufi, Chair of the Progressive Business Forum, Dr. Ramokgopa, His Excellency, former President Olusegun Obasanjo, Ministers of the Cabinet of South Africa, Deputy Ministers of the Executive of South Africa, Honorable Mayors, Office Bearers of the African National Congress, members of the National Executive Committee of the ANC, ambassadors and high commissioners, business leaders, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you all. I'm indeed honored to address this gathering and share our country's objectives and priorities for its 2023 BRICS chairship. Tomorrow, we officially begin the program of the 15th BRICS Summit, and I'm the happiest woman in the room. We begin with the BRICS Business Forum, focused on economic cooperation between the BRICS countries. BRICS is a forum of leading emerging markets and developing countries. The statistics have been set out for you, so I will not reiterate them. Suffice it to say, we are not in some form of competition with G7. We wish to establish our own place in the world and are doing so rapidly. You have been informed of the theme of BRICS, BRICS and Africa, partnership for mutually accelerated growth, sustainable development, and inclusive multilateralism. Our theme reflects that a partnership with Africa can, in our view, bring benefits to BRICS, with our partners eager to explore opportunities to support and benefit from the operationalization of the African Union's African Continental Free Trade Area. Our summit, as has been said, is taking place during South Africa's Women's Month, a time in which we acknowledge and commemorate the bravery of South African women of 1956. On the 9th of August 1956, a group of 20,000 diverse South African women marched to the Union buildings in Pretoria to protest the demand that they carry the passbook, or dompas, as we called it. Our sub-theme as a country this year is women's socioeconomic rights and empowerment, building back better for women's improved resilience. This reflects that the struggle of women of yesteryear continues in different form for women of today. Although our country was able to overcome the monstrous system of apartheid through the many, unreported and unrecognized contributions and sacrifices made by women of our country, modern daily realities of unemployment, poverty, inequality, and violence against women persist and continue to affect the women of our country and the world at large. BRICS, our forum, has been a pioneer in the inclusion, participation, and identification of substantive roles for women in a range of its platforms. None is more evident than the role occupied by the president of the New Development Bank, Her Excellency former President Dilma Rousseff, who provides a practical example and serves as an inspiration to millions of women and girls from the BRICS nations and the world at large. These female role models help to transform archaic negative narratives and perspectives often associated with women, and simultaneously helps to dispel past stereotypes on the role of women. And I was absolutely thrilled this morning to receive Her Excellency Dilma Rousseff, who arrived for the summit today. So our vision of BRICS is a partnership of emerging markets and developing countries providing global leadership. This is why we don't compare with anyone else, and serving as a catalyst for sustained and mutually beneficial growth and sustainable development, as well as driving inclusion of Africa and the global South in the world's systems in their widest definition. Through our work in BRICS, it is our intention to advance alignment with the African Union's Agenda 2063 and the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We will continue to be responsive to the needs and concerns of the broader global South, while ensuring we do not leave the African continent behind. In the context of the challenges you're all aware of that confront multilateralism, our country has proposed a recommitment by BRICS member states to strengthen and reform the multilateral system of global governance. A strategic discussion is going to take place amongst us as BRICS members on how to enhance multilateralism and advance the reform of multilateral institutions. You're all aware of a steady erosion of trust and competition between states, which is weakening the ability of the international community to work together to address shared challenges. The obstacles we are facing include a growing unilateralism, geopolitical rivalries, inconsistent compliance with, and at times blatant violations of international law and the application of double standards. there has also been a proliferation of alternate forums and parallel processes outside of established multilateral processes where decisions are being taken among a few, thereby disenfranchising the many or diverting attention away from the non-delivery of multilateral commitments. So, all of this challenge requires new momentum and political will to strengthen and transform multilateral relations. The United Nations, in our view, must remain the centerpiece of multilateralism and yet be modernized to make it fit for purpose and more effective, agile, action-oriented, forward-looking, inclusive, and representative of current geopolitical relations and the international community. How is it plausible that Africa is not represented permanently in the UN Security Council, or India, or Brazil? How is that plausible? We as BRICS have committed ourselves to multilateralism through our commitment to upholding international law, including the purposes and principles enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations as the indispensable cornerstone of multilateralism. We've also affirmed the central role of the United Nations in an international system in which sovereign states cooperate to maintain peace and security, advance sustainable development, ensure the promotion and protection of democracy, human rights, and fundamental freedoms for all, including the people of Palestine, with the aim of building a brighter shared future for the international community based on mutually beneficial cooperation. I think it vital to keep reiterating that we as BRICS are not anti-West. We believe in inclusiveness and will work with all in the global community. All we seek is to build a more just and equitable multipolar order. As I said earlier, as BRICS, we've remained firm on our insistence on the reform of the United Nations, including making the Security Council more representative, effective, and efficient. And we believe it must include more permanent presence of developing countries. I'm really thrilled that our Minister Patel, leading the Department of Trade, Industry, and Competition, working with the BRICS Business Council, is hosting a content-rich BRICS business program which seeks to foster economic growth, promote collaboration, attract investment, and showcase opportunities within South Africa, Africa, and all BRIC countries. We also note the focus on women in business and commend the Women Business Alliance, who are doing amazing work in creating a platform to advance and mainstream the role of women in business, including the SMME sector, as well as women entrepreneurs and startups. All the BRICS business councils have brought large business delegations to South Africa. Delegations were invited to sector-focused visits to the Johannesburg Stock Exchange and special economic zones in the Eastern Cape, Western Cape, Gauteng, and KwaZulu-Natal. You will notice if you view the exhibition here at Gallagher Estate that it includes a product wing showcasing proudly South African products and services from over 200 South African companies and many more from the rest of our continent. That is South Africa's interpretation of BRICS. These business-to-business interactions are aimed at increasing intra-Africa as well as intra-BRICS trade and investment. Industry leaders, BRICS experts, and African businesses are engaging in dialogues to foster an environment of collaboration, driving strategic economic partnerships to expand trade and investment opportunities, knowledge exchange, and capacity building. As an outcome of our chair as BRICS in 2013, the BRICS Business Council, which we helped to give life to, celebrates its 10th anniversary this year. And we look forward to the celebrations as well as its review of the outcomes of its work as a council in its first decade. All the above engagements are going to culminate in the first event on the BRICS Leaders Program, which is the BRICS Business Forum Leaders Dialogue tomorrow. The leaders will get a report on the outcome of the Business Forum and deliver statements reflecting on BRICS economic relations. And then our president will host the leaders in a retreat. Now, I've been getting lots of phone calls from everybody saying, can't you get me a ticket to this? Can't you get me an opportunity? And please, no, it's not done. This is a culmination. We have 3 tracks to BRICS, with many, many institutions, all having a range of activities. So don't regard the summit as the event. Those 200 other meetings are where you should be participating, because that's where action happens. The summit is leaders. So, in the leaders' retreat, leaders meet for an unscripted discussion on contemporary issues of importance. We believe that BRICS has been a catalyst for positive change in our polarized world. It's not surprising that the Global South identifies with the values and vision espoused by BRICS. This is evident in the significant number of countries from the Global South that wish to become full members of BRICS. This interest is a vote of confidence in the leadership that BRICS continues to provide in addressing the key challenges of the Global South. If no one wanted to join, it would mean maybe the organization of the forum is not of significance. But the fact that they want to join means something is happening there. On Wednesday, the 23rd August, the summit will continue with a closed plenary, followed by a brief open plenary session. The leaders on Thursday will then convene a dialogue with the leaders of Africa and the Global South in the largest BRICS outreach program to date. President Ramaphosa has invited all African leaders, as well as leaders of Global South, to this interaction. At my latest count, some 50 heads of state and government will be in attendance. This is a significant moment for the Global South in advancing our collective interests on the global stage and being the chief architects in seeking to catalyze a new global order that is multipolar, multilateral, inclusive, fair, just, and representative of all our human family. Our leaders are expected to discuss opportunities for realizing the full potential of BRICS for inclusive global economic recovery and sustainable development. Also look at strengthening beneficial partnerships with countries on our continent and the Global South. We also have directed that they should address the issue of the marginalization of women in peace processes and efforts of these 5 big countries to foster an environment of peace and development in our world, particularly in the Global South. We will then have reports from the President of the New Development Bank, the South African Chair of the BRICS Business Council, and the South African Chair of the BRICS Women's Business Alliance. I hope with this smorgasbord of activities and themes, I've given you some sense of the work that we've been doing in the lead up to the 15th summit of BRICS. And I sincerely thank the Treasurer General for having granted me an opportunity to address you this evening. Please pardon my voice, I have a slight cold, but thank you, it's been a great honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Minister Naledi Pandor for